is a very interesting story. It appears in several versions. I'm sticking to the version that appears in the Gemara, Masechet Yoma. Our sages are portraying in a very story fashion-like manner a very interesting process that Judaism had underwent in between the destruction of the first temple and the rebuilding of the second temple. As we may know, the first temple was destroyed because of many reasons. Terrible obsessions. Jews were idol worshippers. There was bloodshed. There was adultery. And we do not encounter precedents, definitely for not for idol worshipping, but also not for physical obsessions, the way we've encountered them 70 years after the destruction of the first temple upon the rebuilding of the second temple. And the question that our sages are asking is, what happened? What was the educational success, which triggered the change? To make a long story short, I'm focusing only on one aspect of this long midrash, in which our sages are portraying the manner by which they have been successful in diminishing the obsession of adultery. Yetzer Avera, physical attraction up to a point that was uncontrollable. The Talmud states that our sages ask God to help them diminish physical obsessions, and God agrees and surrenders this inclination, this evil inclination, this obsession into their hands. Obviously, this is metaphorically speaking. You cannot take the obsession and surrender it, but they put it in jail. And it is placed in jail for 3 days. And after 3 days, they look around all the land of Israel for one fresh egg, and they cannot find one. Why? Because once people are not attracted one to another, and animals are not attracted anymore, then people and animals stop multiplying. What should we do? What should we do? They start consulting, and they say, if we kill this obsession, mankind will cease to exist. The world will cease to exist. On the other hand, if we keep it the way it is, that also is horrific. So what should we do? One suggestion that is being brought up is maybe we should split it into two. Palga. We'll say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what, thank you for giving us physical attraction and sexual relationships. That's nice, but we don't really need that. It only causes trouble. Take that back. Just leave us the need to reproduce and multiply. That we do want to stick to. What's the answer of God? Sorry, it's a package deal. Take it or leave it. You want it, take it as a whole. You can't split it into two. By the way, to make a long story short, eventually what they do is, the Midrash says, Kachlinu le'einenu. There are two possible explanations to what they do, suggested by Rashi. One of which is that they punch it in its eyes. By this it is less fierce, this obsession. The other explanation is that it is they put makeup on it so that it is more delicate. Again, two explanations that are basically the same one. I don't want to focus on the end of the story, but rather on the statement, you do not grant halves from the sky. It's a package deal, take it or leave it. I sense that this statement sheds a lot of light on the issues that we've been speaking of. The name Isha, I personally view it as opposed to the suggestion of Rabbi Yitzchak Karama, is not just a spiritual goal. It's a package deal. It includes everything, both a spiritual entity and a physical entity, both a mother and a spiritual person. All is included in the name Isha. Sometimes less is more, right? The more superlatives you use, it's an indication that you have a problem. God doesn't have a problem. She is Isha, just like he is an Ish. And that includes everything. He's a father, he's a spiritual person, he has spiritual aspirations, he has physical obligations. All is included in the name Ish. When they are punished, and she's punished, as of now, you are subduing your will to your husband. the first opportunity that he has, he diminishes her. He doesn't add any chidush. Nothing new in the name Chava. He doesn't contribute any fresh idea that God did not think of. But he says, as of now, you are no longer Isha. You are just Chava. Because bringing children to the world, this I still need you for. The rest I can manage with. But you are, as of now, just Chava. Not Isha. Just Chava. And that is, I feel, the criticism of the Midrash that says Chava. We didn't need this name. It's all because of the serpent who messed things up. We should not adore and worship the name Chava. This is not how she was created. Why did I choose to speak about the difference between Chava and Isha? Because I think there's a very clear contrast between the manner by which Judaism is presented to us by God and the way Judaism is being interpreted by men. And we have a tendency to abuse power which is invested in our hands, not to enhance and to uplift and to believe in people who are dependent upon us or that we have shared lives with, but rather in order to diminish them and to take away from them their potential, their expectations. We do it in the name of God. But it is completely in clear contrast to what God had expecting for this Isha. He called her Isha. Adam called her Chava. I'm saying this because I feel that today we need to be apologetic in many senses. For many, as was suggested towards the end of the words of Riskin, for many difficulties that we encounter in experiencing Judaism in this postmodern generation, not because Judaism as a whole is problematic, but rather those who carry the name of God make it seem what it is not and abuse it in order to achieve personal gains. This is abuse of power. Personally, I view the regaining strength of women in the past 50, 60 years, started earlier, but it has become more apparent in the past 50, 60 years, and not that we've reached safe land. I view it as none less than tikkun olam. I view it as redeeming the woman from the name that was enforced upon her as Chava, and retrieving her real entity as Isha. By the way, there's a very famous prophecy of the Navi Yirmiyah. It says, Bara Elokim li'ah chadasha, nekeva tesuveh gaver. In the world to come, in the better days, one of the clear signs of redemption is that women shall court, that is the interpretation of Rashi at the spot, shall circle, shall court men. When Rashi writes this, I don't think he would have believed that it would actually take place. Well, he had his own women in his house, which was that's why there's a very clear, not feministic, but supportive message in many of his commentaries. But women shall court men as a part of the sign of Geula. Personally, in our house, we try to implement this, and this is not a discussion of rights. I deserve a better status. I do think that women and men are created in an equal fashion and should be equally respected. But it's much deeper than this. It's a question of tikkun olam. This is the world I would like my children to grow up in. A world where all men and women are created alike, granted the same name, having same destinies. It does not have to be that they're identical. Women and men are different, and it's fine. But they all are spiritual and physical, and they have aspirations that must be respected. And it definitely has a lot of implications on an everyday of life. But aside from the implications, because I have just 5 to 7 minutes, and I do want to take questions if anyone wants to ask, I do want to say one thing. This is beyond a feministic message. I sometimes, because of our role, my husband is rabbi of a community, a synagogue, an Orthodox synagogue in Manana, Ohilori. This is actually his second rabbinical position. He's also been serving as a rabbi of a community in Petah Tikva for 8 years, and later on Shlichut, under the courtesy of Rabbi Riskin, he was the rabbi of the youth movement of Bnei Akiva in North America. And all along, we tried to view every role that he had taken upon himself as equal partnership. And why am I saying this? Because we encounter too many situations, by the way, not necessarily religious, where when people get married, instead of asking themselves, how am I going to call my couple Ish or Isha? How am I going to make him or her better people? How am I going to I'm going to help them fulfill their dreams and aspirations? Couples are concerned with calling their hair chava, diminishing. What do I take? What do I take from this relationship? What does he or she owe me? And that is personally, I feel, a tragic course of events